Now to the art world. It can feel exclusive, but the truth is anyone can be a critic. So senior arts reporter and critic Alex V. Cipolle asked a friend to see some art. They saw multiple realities, experimental art in the Eastern Bloc, 1960s to 1980s, at the Walker Arts Center. And here's their feature, Art Friend.
It's a bit disturbing. It evokes the obvious, it's death, but then there's this mystery behind it because of the fact you can't see if there is indeed a person in there, first off.
That's my friend Rob Morton. He's looking at a piece of art I wanted to show him at the Walker Arts Center, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's meet Rob first.
I'm a musician, I'm a teacher, I'm a father, new father to Zippy. He's 6 months old.
I've known Rob for about 20 years. He's very pro-democracy, very punk rock. This exhibition is called Multiple Realities, Experimental Art in the Eastern Bloc, 1960s through 1980s.
Oh, exciting. Okay.
Okay, so what do you think of when you hear that?
When I hear Eastern Bloc country, especially when I hear Eastern Germany, I think of drab, brutalist, very cold kind of architecture, which is probably unfair.
I think I feel the same way. Like, that's probably my assumption. I mean, you think of, like, Soviet era, you think of communism. Yeah, brutalist architecture, lots of concrete. This show features hundreds of works by 100 artists, many who have never been shown in the U.S. And our assumptions were wrong. The world presented, that of East Germany, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Yugoslavia in the 1960s and 1980s, is far from drab. This show is wide-ranging and vibrant, playful, subversive, sensual, and chilling. The exhibition also has some great experimental music from this era, which you'll hear throughout this story. But there's one spectacularly strange piece I really wanted to show Rob. Tell me what you see.
All right, so what we're standing for is kind of like a gurney with what appears to be a body inside, wrapped up in gauze. There's red around the edges, appears to be blood-like.
This is Bleeding Monument by Gyula KONKOLY. The Hungarian artist first made this human-sized work in 1969. It's the first time it's been on view outside of Europe. It's become a sort of celebrity in its own right since its debut in Minneapolis in November, where it's been shocking and moving visitors.
It almost like looks wrapped up in a special sort of way, a burial rite.
So what does it make you feel?
I mean, it's a bit disturbing. It evokes the obvious, it's death, but then there's this mystery behind it because of the fact that you can't see if there is indeed a person in there, first off.
KONKOLY created the piece in response to the violent suppression of the Hungarian Revolution of 1956, started by students who opposed the ongoing Soviet dominance of their country. Soviet troops killed thousands of Hungarians. KONKOLY also made it a year after the Prague Spring, another movement crushed by the Soviets. It also is more like a fleshier, more human version of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Yeah.
Right? It's like this anonymous victim.
It's a much more visceral version of it, very in your face.
It doesn't sterilize the horrors of war.
Yeah.
I need to tell you what this is made of.
Oh, yeah. What's this made of?
So Bleeding Monument is a massive block of ice.
Oh, really?
A human-sized block of ice that is wrapped in gauze bandages that have been soaked in different chemicals. And as the ice melts, the chemicals in the bandages turn red. So when I came here 2 weeks ago, this was all white and almost more of a rectangle.
Huh.
By the time this exhibition closes, it's going to be a dried pile of brown and red bandages.
That's amazing. I love that. That's amazing. Wow.
Isn't that insane?
That's some of my favorite stuff. Whenever an artist pours all this time and effort into something that is transient, that will only be there for however long it either takes the elements to destroy it or, whatever the process is that breaks it down.
Okay, so this is a recreation.
Yeah.
Did he come here and do this?
Yeah, that was a question I was going to ask. Do you know? Yeah.
I don't. So I reached out to Pavel, the Walker curator who's been working on this show for years.
It's a show that is full of color, vibrancy, joy, pleasure, solidarity, friendship. It's a story that is full of surprises.
I shared our reaction and questions about Bleeding Monument.
And it's perhaps one of the few works in the show that has very direct political meaning, that's very legible. I think at that time it had, of course, a meaning that was very tied to those events, when the memory of carrying wounded citizens through city streets was quite fresh, I think, in people's minds. Today, of course, when you see the work, it brings into mind certainly some contemporary events.
Did KONKOLY come to the Walker to recreate this?
When I invited him to participate in the exhibition, he sent detailed instructions on how to make the piece, and our crew made the work after many different tests of what were described as ice burritos in the basement, just to get the right amount of potassium on the ice.
Alex.
Rob. I called Rob with some answers.
Okay, so that's crazy. Baby-sized burrito versions of the art. That's nuts.
I wanted to know if this changed Rob's opinions on the piece.
My initial reaction to that is kind of, oh, that's too bad that it was, it's very much a recreation of it, to hear that the artists themselves did not have as personal of a role in creating what we saw. But my view on how art is created has kind of evolved to the point where I kind of view art not as something that is created by a person, like one person. There's a genius, and they are to be lauded, and it was 100% their creation. And I don't really think that way anymore. I think more like everything is a culmination of human experience. It's like a result of the collective consciousness of all of us. And so in a way, we all make every piece of art and every book and every, song. The fact that the artist just sent some instructions to the people at the Walker and said, here's how you do it. Here's the specification. Here's the chemicals to use. That's kind of awesome.
It must be so liberating for the artist to be like, here's this idea, I'm setting it free.
Yeah.
There's something kind of democratic about that, too, which is really cool in a show that, deals so much with non-democratic places and times. A few weeks had passed since we'd seen the show, so I asked Rob, had anything else come up for him about Bleeding Monument or the show in general?
Are these pieces that we saw, are they relics of a past that is to be pitied, and we shake our heads thinking about just how far we've come? Or do we look at that and think, my God, we have not come very far at all?
I feel that a little bit the same way. Like, what can you do with that, Like, a lot of this art was made 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah. But then it's sort of inspiring to think that people will make what moves them regardless of what repressive governments tell them they can and can't do. Ultimately, the human spirit is inconquerable.
Rob, thank you so much.
I mean, I'm honored to be the first person to go on this art friend journey with you.
Multiple Realities is on view at the Walker until March 10th. I'm Alex V. Cipolle, NPR News, Minneapolis.
And the story made possible by the Minnesota Legacy Amendments Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.